yeah, today is July 20th, 2023, and this interview is being recorded. And today we're doing oral history with Coquitlam Heritage with Seki. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
Can you first say your full name?
Donald Tsurugi Seki.
Nice. And what year were you born?
I was born in 1961.
So I guess first, do you know anything about like your family surname, like kind of where it came from, or any like history with it?
No, not particularly. I don't.
That's all
My
right.
father, my father, he was kind of old school. Like he was born back in those days. They never really talked much about their past, and especially my father. So we never really got much information from him at all.
What was your father's name?
Uh, his first name he calls himself Sock, Sock, and then his middle name was Masumi, Sock Masumi Seki.
Uh, do you like know where he was born, or
He where?
yeah, where?
Yeah, he was born in Fraser Mills.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently he was born like in the mill somewhere. I don't know where.
So he grew up there, or did he like move?
Yes, myself and my brothers we all grew up in Millardville, Coquitlam area.
Oh, okay, so he basically stayed for the most part.
Well, up until we moved out of home,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah, yeah. That was well, we lived in my lifetime. We moved three times. Once was in Millardville. Do you know where the Toys R Us is in
Oh,
down
yeah.
at the bottom of King Edward there?
Yeah.
Well, our first home, the house I was born, was in that parking lot somewhere. I think is where our house originally was.
What?
Yeah, and then we moved up onto King Edward Street, close to Mackin Park.
Mhm.
These were all like mill-owned houses because my dad worked there. I guess they had accommodations for the mill workers.
Mhm.
And then we moved over to Bernatchez Street, which is closer towards the freeway overpass off Brunette Street. Yeah, and that's where I spent most of my teenage years.
So what schools did you go to during that time?
I went to Millside Elementary, and then Montgomery Secondary, and then Centennial High School.
Okay. So how was the Coquitlam school system like back when you went?
That was fine. Yeah, can't really compare to anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have
My dad
any?
was actually one of the, I think he was one of the first students to ever go to Millside Elementary. He went there as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
Did you have any like favorite subjects?
not particularly.
No, that's fair. Did your mom, was she born here as well, or did she come?
Her family was from Richmond area, Richmond. Yeah, and her her father and mother owned a small farm in, I think, the Queensboro area.
What's your mother's name?
Her maiden name is Suda, Suda. Yeah.
So did you have any stories kind of like growing up in like the kind of Mayarville area? I don't know, things of interest.
Um, well, not particularly. I mean, we were we didn't have a lot of money, but back in those days, we were pretty much had free reign of everything. We weren't worried about being abducted or whatever. My parents didn't seem to mind that we just spent the whole day away from home and then come home when we're hungry, kind of thing. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. We used to go fishing on the Fraser River, climb over into the log booms and go fishing there. Uh, Fool around with kids and friends and yeah, neighbors, getting in trouble.
Yeah. What kind of fish were you able to catch?
Uh, the odd salmon, but mostly sturgeon.
Okay.
Yeah, we would just catch them for fun because we weren't into eating them back then. Yeah.
The city is naming a street after your Sakmasumi Seki. Does like that have any like significance to your family or yourself?
Well, yeah, we're very honored, of course. It kind of came out of the blue. Got that phone call, and yeah, something you never really thought about, but I guess essentially it's because we're a visible minority back in the day. That was, and my father had a history there. Um, so yeah, it's all my father, I suppose. But it's nice to be able to have a legacy
Mhm.
um, that might be around for a lot longer than me. So nice to see them recognize the family name for sure.
Do you know how long your father worked at Fraser Mill?
I think it was about 35 years, not including the time that he was like during the war.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure you know a little bit about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So was he working like there before the war and then after it, or like does that start after the war?
He worked there before and then after. Yeah.
Do you know anything about the process of him getting that job back?
I don't know anything about that part of it, no. One of the questions you asked was, what can you tell us about your grandfather, Seki? But he's actually my father, not
Yeah,
my
really.
grand. Yeah.
But did your grandfather also was your grandfather the one who?
Uh, I don't know anything about my grandfather,
Mhm.
as my father never talked about him. Um, I'm sure they probably had some kind of a falling out over the years, but I assume that they immigrated from Japan
Mhm.
to Canada in the 1800s, I would imagine,
Yeah.
or maybe early 1900s. But that's about all I really know of him. Uh, yeah. My father had, I was talking to my brothers last night, and we believe that he only had one brother who was named Kuhachi, Kuhachi, and but he liked to call himself Key, Key. That's just, I think, the only sibling that he possibly had. Like I say, he never really talked too much about it. He had some falling out with his family, I think, because he
Uh,
never really talked about his past.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
So you didn't have any like uncles or like what the one uncle around at all. Just, yeah.
not at all. Apparently, they hadn't talked for many many years. Yeah,
On your mother's side, was there a bigger family presence, or was that?
on the mother's side, yes, yeah, much larger family. Yeah.
Do you know what your dad's like specific job was for the mill?
I assume, like, because he worked there for his whole career, I assume he started from the bottom and worked his way up.
Mhm.
But he, from when I knew him, my time, uh, since I was born, he was working in the mill stores, which means it's where they keep all the supplies for fixing everything.
Mhm.
So if say a millwright needed a part, he would come to this counter, and my dad would give him this part to fix the machine. They call it the stores. And then later on, he was a printer. He did a lot of printing in the print shop in the office. That's how I think he ended his career. Yeah.
When did he retire?
He retired at 65. Um, yeah, I don't know what year that was.
Oh
Um,
yeah, when he turned 60. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you probably saw like the mill change quite a bit.
yeah, yeah. My brothers and I worked in the mill part time while going to school, high school. Um, yeah, that was about it. We had the option of working full time, but none of us wanted to do that.
What was your kind of jobs working part time?
Uh, in the mill, I was just clean up.
Okay.
typical students. Um, the mill gave preferential hiring to the mill workers' sons and daughters that wanted to work part-time while they went to school. So we all went there because the money was good. It's a
Okay.
union job, and um, back in the day, so we made pretty good money while going to school. Yeah.
Nice. What would be like the kind of do you know like the equivalent to today's or like how much were you making?
I think back then, like in the 70s, I was probably making like $12 an hour or something.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good for back
Quite
then.
good for back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you said you also get like benefits and stuff because you're part of the union, sort
No, because we were just part-time students, so
of? Okay.
I mean, we weren't full-time employees. Yeah.
And what's made you not want to continue on working at the
Well, I guess I didn't like the work, and other opportunities presented itself. So just essentially got on with my life. Yeah. Never really, never joined, never started working there with the intention of working there as a career.
Mhm.
Mind you, back then, I think there was probably more opportunities than now. I don't know, but I don't know. I did all kinds of different things later on in life. So yeah,
Did you go to university?
no, I took a couple years of structural drafting, and when I graduated, like that was at BCIT, and then when I graduated, um, it was the economy was terrible, and I couldn't find a job doing that. So I just moved on after that. Never really utilized that education.
As it happens.
Yeah,
So where did you kind of then end up with your career?
for me,
Mhm.
um, well, I had various jobs throughout my life. Um, when I was younger, I worked driving trucks to the oil rigs in northern Alberta for quite a few years, maybe 3 seasons. Um, Lived in Grand Prairie for a while. I did kitchen cabinet installations for about 5 years with a friend of mine. Um, Met my wife, and then we decided to buy a seafood store in Maple Ridge called Sea Treasures. At the time, that's where we raised our family. We lived for 30 years there in Maple Ridge. Yeah, before the seafood store, I was a commercial fisherman for 10 seasons. Um, we bought my wife's family business, which was paperboard wholesaler. So we were a supplier of paperboard to the printing and packaging industry in Western Canada. And that's kind of how we ended our careers. Yeah.
Yeah, so do a bunch of like different interesting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So now my wife is retired, and I work once in a while for the film industry driving in transport.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Any like recognizable films that you've worked on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lots of different people. I was a cast driver for quite a while. It's kind of slow right now. Actually, there's nothing right now
Yeah.
because it's a strike, as you know. But yeah,
Growing up in your household, did you have any like did your family usually like sit around for like at the dinner table and eat or was um
yeah. My dad was big on Chinese food for some reason. That was his thing, and he loved to cook it. So we ate a lot of that type of food. A lot of stir fries and rice and tofu. A lot of fish. Yeah, he loved seafood. They used to can their own salmon all the time. It was a big ordeal. Yeah, ate fairly healthy when we were young.
did you take on those practices when you moved out?
Uh, Not the cooking part, but I still love fishing. Fishing is a big part of my life. Yeah.
Where do you go fishing now?
I'm mostly a trout fisherman, so I do fly fishing.
Okay.
fly fish for quite a number of years now, and really enjoy it. Yeah, yeah,
You said like your dad was going to cook. Did your mom also cook, or was it more like your dad?
yeah. Mom cooked too, but not very often.
Okay, nice.
My older brother, he's a chef, so he did a lot of cooking at home too when we were young. Yeah, he loved that.
What kind of food does he focus on?
Well, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's all every kind of meal you could think of. Yeah,
So, how many siblings did you have?
I have two brothers.
Younger or older?
Uh, I'm the youngest, so yeah, two older.
Uh,
Yeah,
um,
I'm the
yeah.
most responsible one too. By the
Okay.
way.
So one's a chef and was the other one doing or did?
He's a retired uh, geological engineer. He worked for Hydro for many years. He's retired now. Yeah,
So yes, you're still in touch with both of them.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we still get along, kind of.
Was there like when you growing up, was there like a lot of kind of negotiating with them about like, I don't know, like who gets this toy or who gets to go out late or who gets the car or anything like that?
Not particularly, but when you have three brothers, there's some discrepancies and disagreements a lot of times. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, we've known each other our lives and we still talk to each other, so I guess we're okay,
Yeah.
right?
Was there anything special that your family liked to do together as a growing up?
Um, well, my dad got 2 weeks holidays every year, so we'd pack up the car, the station wagon. Like this was when we were younger.
Mhm.
Pack up the station wagon. He had a little canvas covered tent trailer, and we'd spend 2 weeks. We'd go on the road for 2 weeks, and we just spend it all in BC, seeing BC. We'd go fishing, did camping and fishing with family friends as well. Yeah, it was good memories. Yeah. We also, my father was a black belt in judo,
Mhm.
and so all three of us kids, we took judo for many years when we were younger. So that was something that we did as kind of as a family, I suppose. Yeah.
What belts did you get up to?
Uh, I think we all made it to brown belts. I don't think none of us made it to black belt. I don't think. Yeah.
So what do you know what got your dad into judo?
Um, to be honest, no. I don't know why he decided to do it, but he enjoyed it. He did it. He took judo for quite a few years. As he became older, he still continued, I think, mostly for the physical exercise.
Mhm.
But yeah, and he was a bit of a mentor in the club and stuff too.
Where was the club?
Uh, we started in New Westminster, the New Westminster Judo Club, and then we went over to Burnaby Judo Club.
Oh, okay. So did Coquitlam not have a club at the time?
No, but it eventually did have a club, and it was started by a mutual instructor from one of the clubs that we went to. I think it was the New Westminster Club. Yeah, he started the Oyama Judo Club. Are you familiar with any of those clubs?
No, yeah, I don't really know too much about
Oh,
martial arts.
yeah, okay. But we did judo tournaments throughout uh, BC and also down in the States, Seattle. We go to Seattle for tournaments and stuff. So it was kind of like a family
Oh, wow.
thing. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess for judo was that was the sports that you kind of grew up with.
Mhm.
Were there like places in like Coquitlam that you like frequented as a kid? Yeah.
Well, for me, for myself, I had a lot of friends from school and stuff, and even to this day, we're all pretty close friends. And they all still live in the same area. So there's about half a dozen of us that still get together quite often. Um, Friends I've known since elementary school. As when I was younger, growing up, we used to spend a lot of time at their places. Yeah, hanging out, getting into trouble. Yeah,
Yeah, you said you yourself it's kind of switching gears a bit, but you owned like a fish in like Maple Ridge, like the fish store.
yeah, had a
How,
fish story.
yeah, how was like running a business like that?
Good. Yeah, we've essentially run businesses our whole careers, pretty much. Yeah, I started out when I was just out of high school. I guess I started up a power washing company and ran that for a few years. Decided I didn't like that at all. And then when we got to the seafood store, we had that for 10 years, and yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Where were you like did you like have like that like from the local fisherman supplier sort of thing?
Well, we bought seafood from various suppliers in Vancouver. Um, Essentially, would drive into town almost every day to pick up the fresh seafood and bring it up to Maple Ridge. Yeah. Um, yeah, our kids kind of grew up. That was the year. Those were the years that our kids were young, going to elementary school and stuff. So it was kind of nice to be close to home to look after the kids as well. Yeah, and then we owned that for 10 years, and then sold it to a guy, and then we bought this other business, the paper business, and ran that for close to 20 years. Yeah.
What are like kind of like what attracted you to like the paper business?
Well, it was my wife's family business, and
Okay.
she has four siblings. And her father was declining in health, and we were he was either going to just close the business, or we could buy it. My wife had a lot of history there in the past, working there as an administrator, and so we decided to make the jump and buy it. So we bought it off her siblings. We bought it off two of her siblings, and then we ran it for all those years. Yeah,
And I guess what was your wife's name?
Jody, Jody. Been married 34 years.
And how many children did you?
We have two children, Max, who's 32, and Nicholas, who is 29. Yeah.
And how was raising your kids?
Great. Kids are great. Kids are happy, healthy. Once the younger was in Victoria, he's got a year to go for his engineering degree. And my older son is an accountant who lives in Vancouver. Yeah. Yeah. Good kids.
Do you have your own like family get to like you did like the trailer camping trips when you grew up? Do you have your own traditions with your family or events or activities?
Well, yeah, when they were young, we did a lot of camping together, kind of like the outdoors kind of stuff. We've been on a lot of road trips too, down south into Mexico and stuff. And yeah, every year we do something. We've been to Europe and Costa Rica and Thailand with the kids. So yeah, they've had a pretty good life, enjoying themselves.
Do they also do judo or no?
No, they're into soccer. They love
Okay.
soccer. Yeah.
So did you volunteer for the Coquitlam Search and Rescue?
Yeah, I belong to Search and Rescue in Coquitlam. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so what does that entail?
Searching and rescuing people.
Okay. So like
Uh,
what area? Like,
well, in the Tri-Cities, we our primary area is Coquitlam, Port Moody,
mhm.
and more in Belcarra. And but as a provincial team, we work with any team that needs assistance. Like, well, recently we had a search in Coquitlam for there's an Asian lady with dementia that went missing for 5 days. I don't know, you might have heard of it on the news or something, but we had we requested help from teams from all over the Fraser Valley, and you know they usually send whoever's available to help us out, and we would do the same. Yeah.
When did you get involved?
Uh, well, I'm one of the longer standing members. I've been involved with search and rescue for 40 years now. Yeah, makes you feel old. But yeah, still going strong. I'm still involved with it. Uh, I enjoy it. Given me a lot.
Oh yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
What was like the thing that like made, do you remember like what made you decide to join?
I don't know. It's just I always had a love of the outdoors, and I was sitting on the couch once at my mom's house in Coquitlam reading the Tri City News, and there was an ad for recruitment for Coquitlam Search and Rescue. So I applied, and that's how I joined. That's how I started. Yeah,
Was there like a
never looked
training
back.
process?
Pardon me?
Was there a training process?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's lots of training involved. Yeah.
What sort of?
Well, there's all types of disciplines for search and rescue. Well, when I first joined, you didn't need a whole lot of prerequisites, other than a love of the outdoors and willing to help people. But nowadays, there's all sorts of disciplines you can get involved with, such as rope rescue, um, marine tracking, um, SAR management, all those things. Yeah, and it goes on and on. First aid, whatever. A lot of most of the courses are paid for by either the province or the team. So yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah.
And did you have any like stories that kind of like stood out to you in your having your 40 years of volunteering?
Oh, there's really there's been so much. I've been on so many different searches and rescues, and it's hard to just justify any one that I can tell you. But yeah, a lot of different experiences with rescues and searching. Um, yeah.
And you're still involved with that, right?
Yes.
So as
Yeah.
you've aged, has your role kind of changed in the organization?
Um, well, I've been a search manager for many years now. I have just recently, in the past few years, I've kind of stepped away a little bit, but I'm not as on call as much as I used to be, because you get called out in the middle of the night or whatever, and I don't have any more motivation to
Yeah.
get up. But yeah, generally, if I have time, I usually get out, and I try and attend as much training as I can still. But yeah, definitely, definitely, still involved.
And in your opinion, since like you grew up in Coquitlam till today, how has Coquitlam changed?
Since I was grown up
Yeah.
quite a bit. quite a bit. Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember seeing there's a "Welcome to Coquitlam" sign um, just at the U.S. border, and I remember the population in Coquitlam at the time was 25,000 people, and now I don't know what it is, but it's quite high, a lot more than that. Yeah, which in turn changes everything, really. Yeah, it's not the same, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess as you said, your one of your childhood homes is like basically the parking lot of the Toys R Us now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So a lot of development.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember the floating sidewalks. Are you familiar with that? As part of the Heritage Society back in the day, that area we used to live in, where Toys R Us is now, that area used to flood every spring, and so one of their ideas to solve the problem was to build floating sidewalks, and yeah, and that I remember.
How did those work? Were they like,
Well, they just had floats underneath the sidewalks.
oh, okay.
So as the water rose, so did the sidewalks. Yeah.
Did your father ever, well, I guess, like, do you know, um, how your father, like, went through, like, what camp or the internment camp he went to?
My father, he he didn't go to an internment camp. He went back east.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I think he went maybe to Alberta or Ontario to pick sugar beets. Apparently, that's something that they did. You either went to a an internment camp or you took off back east
Yeah.
away from the coast
Okay. So
because
he
it was
was,
the coast that is the coast that they were worried about for the big Japanese invasion that never happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did he like lose land when he left?
He never had any because he always had a house supplied to him by the mill because that's where he worked, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, my mother's side, yes, her father lost their farm and everything in it
Mhm.
because of the war. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom was interned in Lemon Creek in the Kootenays. Yeah. During the war.
Mhm. Do you know much of your mom's family history?
Um, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. She was born Queensboro area, and she I can't remember what she did when she was young, before she got married. She she had how many? Three siblings from, and they moved. One was in Vancouver. One was in Queensboro. Um, Two were in Queensboro, and one was in Salmon Arm area,
Mhm.
Tappen, I believe. Yeah, and yeah, they all had children. So I have cousins and such. Yeah, a lot of them are still local.
Did your mom work or?
She didn't work while my dad was working at the mill, but when he retired, she she started a souvenir shop in Gastown, and so my mom and dad would drive together to Gastown every day and run the souvenir shop. Yeah, for
Oh,
many years. Yeah,
oh, that's
I used to,
interesting.
yeah, in the summertime when I was in elementary school, I'd have to tag along with her, so I spent a lot of time there too. But yeah, back in the day, that's what she did.
And have both of your parents passed away
Yes, yeah, both of them passed away quite a long time ago. My dad passed away in 1987. He was 73 years old. My mother passed away in 19. Oh, I don't know what. I can't remember when my mother passed away. Um, I don't know what year, but she was 83 years old when she died.
was it after your father?
After my father, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, do you know what year she was born?
1925.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, do you know your dad was born?
My dad was born 1914.
Did you have any like memorabilia or like heirlooms that were passed down to you? Or-
Heirlooms? Not really that I can think of other than, photos.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's pretty much it, really.
Did you potentially have like photos other of like working in the mill?
My dad?
Yeah.
I think so. I think we do. Yeah.
I know I know my collections matter. She would be interested in seeing those if you ever wanted to.
Oh, yeah. Um, I'd have to dig them up. I'm not exactly sure where they are. Um, but yeah, there might be some photos of the early days. Yeah, down there.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Thanks. I think yes. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention about your father, about yourself, or your family, or about the street being named after your father, or anything?
Um, I can't think of anything to be honest with you. I know it's hard to talk about yourself, really. I don't like it at all, but yeah, I can't really think of anything. No, not really. We just had a pretty normal life. Yeah, not too many hardships or anything. Thank goodness. Everyone was pretty healthy up until my parents passed away. But yeah, I think my dad had a hard life growing up as a kid, not only being a minority, but also just the time of
Mhm.
that he grew up. It was he lived through the depression and all that. So yeah, but persevered, I suppose. Yeah,
Did you yourself experience any kind of racism when you were growing up?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Going to school, uh, as back then, I can remember in elementary class, there was just myself and another Japanese kid, and even in Centennial High School, which had a huge graduating class, there was just a handful of minorities in it. So yeah, you felt it a little bit, but it didn't really bother me that much. I mean, all my friends are white. I suppose I never grew up in a Japanese environment, so I don't have a other than my name. I'm pretty Canadianized.
Yeah, like
Um,
do you speak
yeah,
Japanese also?
no,
Yeah.
and my parents never really did at home either.
Mhm.
So um, yeah, it's kind of weird.
No, you guys, my dad is also the same. He doesn't really speak it, and I don't. So
Mhm.
yeah, I know.
How old is your dad?
He's 64. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's just a couple of years older than me. So yeah, yeah. And my wife has Dutch ancestry. She's 100% Dutch, and so my kids are half Japanese and half Dutch too. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's all the questions I
Okay,
had.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah, thank you again for taking the time to do this interview.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, take care.